Okay, so hello everybody. Today we're discussing the issue of when your case is put on hold, your Social Security disability case is put on hold. And many times this happens without people understanding why the case itself would be put on hold. The process is lengthy enough as it is. If you end up going to a hearing, especially for my clients in Texas and California, you could be looking at upwards up to 2 years before even having a hearing, and a couple of months even after that of getting a judge's decision. You could very well invest 2.5 years of getting to a hearing, and if you appeal from your hearing level up to the appeals council, you're looking at another year there as well. And then, not to mention, if you went into federal court, you're looking at another year. So one of the things that happens to a lot of people is that they file for Social Security disability, but their case gets put on hold. And again, this is already a lengthy process, but this seems to, and it more than it seems, it does. It puts a case, makes a case even longer than people were anticipating that it would take. So that most people that file for Social Security disability expect at least a 4-month process to at least get an answer back. I think that would be a reasonable estimate at first, but as we will discuss here in just a second, oftentimes this will move a case out to 9 months, even 12 months before getting a denial or approval. So the first thing is to understand what it means to be disabled. So to be disabled means that your case that you're filing a case that you have a condition that is expected to last a year or more or lead to your death. Now forget about the part that says or leads to your death. All Social Security is saying that here is that your disability claim needs to be expected to last for a year or more. Now, that's what they claim as long-term disability, as opposed to short-term disability. Now, short-term disability is anything from day one up until 5 months, the conclusion of 5 months. So, a lot of people, many people, will file when they are laid off from their job, for example, because they can no longer perform their job duties, they're laid off, and the first thing that many people do is they go home, they file for unemployment, and they file for disability. Well, as a side note here, one of the discrepancies there when you're filing for unemployment after you've been laid off because of your physical or mental condition is that you were saying that you are ready, willing, and able to take on a new full-time job. Whereas when you're filing for disability, you're stating that you are no longer capable of working at a full-time job. So there's a discrepancy, and Social Security actually evaluates that when you do file your claim. But so for the typical person that goes home, waits a day or two, files for unemployment and files for disability because he or she is going to not be able to live in their apartment, lose their home, not make their car payment, tuition payment for the kids, groceries even, or pay utilities. It can be a very scary time for people, and it's totally understandable. So when you do that, when you file immediately after stopping working, the problem arises is that you're then slotted into the short-term disability period. So if you file on day 3 of unemployment and you, as we discussed before, an onset date, you're stating that you were disabled on this date. Let's say that you were laid off on August 1st and you filed on August 3rd and you said, I became disabled on August 1st. Well, the problem with that is that you're going to have to put 5 months into short-term disability. You're going to be placed on what's called a medical hold. And the medical hold it's not the end of the world. But if you're looking to adjudicate this case in a timely manner, you just added 5 months to your case. Now, what's a way to solve that? Evaluate what you've been making per month while you've been trying to work and not have to file for disability. So let's say, for example, you work at a customer service job, but you have flexible hours. So you're getting ill, you have a back injury, you're not able to sit for 6 out of 8 hours a day, you're having difficulty, you have neuropathy as well, so you're having trouble using your keyboard 6 out of 8 hours a day, your feet are tingling, etc. So you were working a full-time job, but because you could not any longer work a full-time job, you had to reduce your hours to part-time, 20 hours a week. And let's say, for example, that was under what's called substantial gainful activity limits. So SGA, it's called SGA, means that you're working at work that is both substantial and gainful. Well, substantial means that you're not just been given a job and you sit there like a vegetable in the corner and somebody gives you a paycheck. It means that you're a valuable employee, you perform your duties, and you're expected to perform them. Whereas gainful means for the year of 2016 is that you're making over $1,130 a month. So if you look at, if you're trying to determine your onset date and you're trying to escape being placed on a medical hold, then what you want to do is you want to look at how much you were making in the months prior to the time in which you laid off, had to quit your job, etc. So let's just say, for example, you were working part-time. Well, if you were working part-time, evaluate what your gross pay was every month. If your gross pay is under $1,130 a month, then you are not engaging in what we go back to, like I just explained to you, substantial gainful activity. So Social Security doesn't assume that you are engaging in substantial gainful activity because you're making less than the statutory limit, okay? So instead of August 1st being your onset date, you realize then that you were having to work part-time back from January, okay, and you had been making less than $1,100 or so dollars per month. Well, now you can claim that your onset date was in January instead of August. So when you filed in August, now you can claim January, of course, like I just said, but now you've already put in your 5 months of short-term disability. And if you put in your 5 months of short-term disability, then your claim starts and it goes down to the State Disability Determination Service, and it doesn't sit there in Social Security or even with the DDS and be placed on what's called a medical hold. All right. There's other reasons why your case could be placed on hold as well. And these you really cannot help, but it happens a lot. So once your case gets moved from your local Social Security office, it goes to the State Disability Determination Service, okay? That's when you get assigned a case manager. That's when you get, for example, my clients in Texas, they start getting correspondence coming out of Austin. So let's say you're going through your disability determination process with DDS, the State Disability Determination Service, and you have to have a procedure 3 months into it. Let's go back to your back surgery and your neuropathy, okay? So let's say that you somehow, by the grace of God, have insurance or you have enough money for a back surgery. So what DDS is going to do is DDS is going to put you on a medical hold, and they're going to evaluate your case a month, 2 months after you have hospitalization and surgery to see if the doctor's going to evaluate now your range of motion, that you had to go through physical therapy and what your physical therapist is saying you're capable of doing. So those are other times when you get placed on a medical hold. You will also get placed on a medical hold if you are alleging a back injury, neuropathy, I'm just using for example, and you have a car wreck. You know, DDS is going to wait and see how you come back out of that. If that was another traumatic event to occur to your back and it further limits your ability to work, etc. If they're aware of it. So those are the kinds of things that you get placed on medical hold. The first part of it, you can, when filing for disability, you have control over it. Sometimes you don't. You just, but it's very seldom that disabling condition happens in the blink of an eye, which sometimes it does, with a traumatic event in our lives. But usually these things are gradual, whether it be cancer, your back injury, neuropathy, diabetes, losing vision because of your diabetes, things like that. Those are things that are gradual. And as you start to have these issues, evaluate your income, your gross income, not net, your gross income, and then you can better accurately pinpoint when your onset date is. And that may very well save you from being placed on a medical hold. All right. In the process of reviewing your case and making a decision on it, sometimes you just can't control that, where you get placed on a medical hold during the middle of your case. Okay, but how can you combat that, and how can you make that process shorter? Well, first and foremost, you can keep in touch with your case manager where the DDS service is. Give them a call, inform them, hey, I just got out of the hospital. I'm going to be doing some rehabilitation, and I'm expected to stop doing rehabilitation in 30 days. The case manager will put a note in your file, and we'll start looking at your case again in the next 30 days. Call your case manager again at the end of that 30 days and say, okay, I'm done with treatment. I'm just taking medication for the pain. You can pull the medical records now. Here's where all my medical records are. Well, that helps Social Security, the DDS case manager, because the case manager will request the records. It doesn't stop there. So with hospitals and large doctor practices where you have multiple doctors, they get inundated with medical records requests, especially your large county hospitals and your really large private hospitals too. County hospitals tend to be better because it's an everyday event for them that they're getting requests from a lot of attorneys, especially. So at the end of 30 days after informing your case manager, call your case manager again and ask him or her, did you get all the medical records that occurred to me in regards to my wreck and my rehabilitation and how it affected my back? So that's going to speed up your case. And then the case manager will say, hey, I didn't get them still, or yes, I got them. They're under review. You'll get an answer in a month or so. If the case manager says, no, I've had no success getting your records, go down to your hospital, get the records, and send them to your case manager. Those are the kind of things that you can do to speed up your case after it's been put on hold. I hope this helped. Take care.